Happy Monday, folks, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham Giuseppe Matthews, break down all the content that I watch on the WWE Network. As I talked about yesterday, my Total Divas review. If you haven't already checked it out, please do so. Cheap plug. I mentioned that we got a new show on the WWE Network, WWE Photo Shoot. That's what I'll be talking about here today on the show. There were two episodes that went up after Raw last week on the network. One with The Miz and one with Cesaro. I had already seen the Miz one, and you might have as well. It went up on WWE's YouTube channel like 2 weeks ago, well before it went up on the network. So I'm like, I don't really feel like rewatching it just to review it. And I've done that before with stuff here on the show. But like I literally just watched it a week or two ago, so I wasn't going to rewatch it again just to review it. I will say it was great. I mean, The Miz is awesome, no pun intended, so definitely check it out, whether it be on YouTube or the network, whatever. The Cesaro one, however, I had not seen. They did not upload that one to the YouTube channel before it went up on the network last week after Raw, so that's what I'm going to be talking about here today on WWE Network and Chill. So again, uploaded on January 1st, 2018, New Year's Day, right after Raw last week. So basically the show features wrestlers, we had The Miz and now Cesaro, sitting down to look at photos of their career and reliving those experiences and kind of giving never before heard stories about those various, those various experiences and moments and stuff like that. This one with Cesaro was very, very good. The first photo that he had looked at that we got to see as well was of him slamming the Big Show in the inaugural Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30. He talks about the amazing reaction it received, how special it was to him, and he mentioned he wanted to carry the trophy out of the arena himself, kind of leaving the ring as opposed to someone carrying it out for him. Didn't really mean much because it got broken the next night by Jack Swagger, but still a funny little story nonetheless. And that was a great moment. I mean, I remember watching that live at WrestleMania 30, not being there, but on the network rather, and it was crazy. I mean, no one had pegged Cesaro to win it because he was already in a tag team title match earlier on in the evening on the kickoff show with the Usos and Ryback, maybe the fucking Matadors, I think. So he was already in that match. He showed up in this match. No one thought he would win. Came down to him and Big Show. Even then, I thought Big Show might win. Cesaro picks him up over his head, which is where the picture comes from, and then close to over his head, pretty close, and then tosses him over the top rope to win the matchup to a huge ovation. And that's where he should have gone babyface. That is where he should have been launched to the moon as a megastar. And the next photo comes in. The next photo we see is of him aligning with Paul Heyman on the next night's Raw. Again, a money pairing on paper, but the timing could not have been more off. Because Paul Heyman, the night prior at WrestleMania 30, that same night he won the Battle Royal, had accompanied Brock Lesnar in his victory over The Undertaker, therefore breaking the streak. So as a result, Brock Lesnar, and de facto, by default, Paul Heyman, were the most hated people in the entire WWE. And then by aligning Cesaro with Heyman, on paper, again, a great pairing, a money duo, but because you aligned Cesaro with Heyman at that point in time, it kept Cesaro a heel, where in reality he should have been a babyface. Anyone and their mother would have told you, even fucking Stevie Wonder, who was blind, obviously. I mean, I guess someone who was deaf would have been a better example, but you get what I'm trying to say. Anyone could have told you that Cesaro, after that reaction he received at WrestleMania, should have been a breakout babyface from that point forward. Didn't happen. So Cesaro says upon seeing that picture with Heyman that he was excited for it. He thought it would lead to some amazing stuff with him and Heyman. He did bring up how Heyman would always bring up when he was with Heyman on TV that Brock Lesnar had ended the streak. And as a result, people would boo, and Cesaro would not be a babyface as a result of that. And it did not reach the level that he was hoping. I think he speaks for everyone when he says that, because we all had high expectations for that big pairing between Paul Heyman and Cesaro. And it went nowhere. The two broke up a few months later after that. Cesaro went on to do his own thing. And that was it. Cesaro went on to flounder until teaming up with Tyson Kidd at the tail end of 2014. And then Paul Heyman went on to just solely manage Brock Lesnar, and he has not had another client since on TV. And I think the Cesaro thing going south was a big reason why that happened. We get a picture of Cesaro working out in Germany. He says at that point, I'm not sure if he's joking, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was telling the truth here. He was lifting 300 pounds in the picture. I guess it was during a media tour, and working out was important to him. But it was during a media tour. He would do all these, interviews for 10, 15, 20 minutes. They would get a break to work out real quick for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then going back to doing the interviews. So that's where that picture had stemmed from. It looked like from early 2013, 2014. The next picture we see of Cesaro is of his first picture on WWE.com when he was billed as a Swiss rugby player, and he says it doesn't feel like 5 years have passed since that picture was taken. You're telling me it does not feel like at all it has been 5 or 6 years, I guess at this point 6 years, since Cesaro has debuted in WWE. But yeah, that was his whole gimmick when he first showed up in WWE, that he was a Swiss rugby player. Terrible gimmick. So we see a shot of his debut in England, backstage with Oksana and Teddy Long, making out with Oksana. He was introduced as Oksana's boyfriend, and it was in England too. Like I said, in the O2, and that was where Cesaro had a very rich history on the independent scene over in Europe. So debuting in that arena on SmackDown that night in April of 2012 rather, was pretty special to Cesaro, and he said he was happy to have debuted in England, Europe, whatever. The next picture we see is of him kissing Oksana in the ring with Teddy Long looking on, kind of rubbing it in Teddy Long's face. That was the whole storyline for a while, that Teddy Long was infatuated with Oksana. That had been going on for a while before Cesaro came around. That storyline, by the way, went nowhere. I'm not sure what happened to Teddy Long. I think Long was around as the GM of SmackDown for another year or so. But then it was Cesaro who ended up dumping Oksana right after he became United States champion. So the whole thing with Oksana and Teddy Long really just went nowhere. I think Teddy Long would regain power of being the GM of SmackDown after John Laurinaitis had left. That was a whole fucking blur in the summer of 2012. Not really the best time to be a WWE fan, in my opinion. Anyway, so we get a picture of Cesaro coming out with the American flag when he was the United States champion. I guess he was told that the flag could not touch the floor, and if it did, he'd be in big trouble. So, they take that stuff very seriously. It's an American flag. The whole thing with Jericho around that same time, when he kicked the Brazilian flag, he almost got arrested. He was suspended for about a month because of that, just for being a good heel. Anyway, so Cesaro talks about having a great time as United States champion. It was a long run for over 200 days, and during which he had beaten Sergeant Slaughter, one of his favorites growing up. So to beat a legend like that during his time as U.S. champion, he treasures that very much. I do remember it ending pretty abruptly in 2013. He lost to Kofi Kingston on a random episode of Raw, and he never... I think he got a rematch, and it was a great match with Kingston on Main Event or something, but that reign should have been much more than what it was going into 2013. We get a picture of him swinging the Great Khali at the Battleground pay-per-view in 2013. He talks about that being one of his favorite feats of strength, and it was a move that he did on the independent scene dating back to 2005. He stopped doing it when he came to WWE, but that was the first time he started doing it. Not the very first time. The first time he did it in WWE, I believe, was when he did it to Santino on Raw. We get a shot of that here, too. And then he did it to Khali a few weeks after that at Battleground. And that was really when he started to get over as a kind of a breakout babyface, breakout star on the main roster as part of the Real Americans. We get a shot of him working with Sami Zayn in NXT. He talks about going down to NXT for more reps, therefore really just kind of helping launch Sami Zayn's career. It was Sami Zayn who beat Cesaro in Sami Zayn's debut match, on NXT. So those two had a great rivalry in the summer of 2013, including an awesome 2 out of 3 falls match, one of the best matches in NXT history. And he also talked about having the first match on the WWE Network at Arrival with Zayn, launching the WWE Network with a bang, so a pretty cool honor for him. He met a Make-A-Wish kid while wearing a Cesaro shirt. Not Cesaro, but the kid was, so obviously a big Cesaro fan, a Make-A-Wish person, and wanted to meet Cesaro. He talks about that being an amazing organization and it being one of the best parts of being a WWE superstar. The next shot is of him facing John Cena for the United States Championship, having a great match, and he hopes they can do it again. That was their first match on Raw, I think in June of 2015. And they worked really, really well together, had an awesome match, and he hopes they can have a rematch at some point down the road. Amen. The rematch next week in the main event of Raw was also awesome, but I am hoping we get to see more of Cesaro versus John Cena at some point down the road, because their chemistry is off the charts. After that, we get a shot of WrestleMania 32, which he had missed due to rotator cuff surgery. The picture was basically what his view would have been at WrestleMania 32 from the nosebleeds, the press box, whatever, alongside Seth Rollins. They were both miserable because they had to miss it. He really wanted to be a part of WrestleMania 33 after missing 32 due to rotator cuff surgery. So he did return the next night after WrestleMania 32 on Raw as part of that fatal 4-way to crown a new number one contender to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. We get a shot of that and the warm welcome he received from the crowd that night, which is from, all over the world, so it was no surprise he got a big pop that night when he came back for that match. After that, we get a shot of Cesaro's first interview as a member of the Raw roster upon being drafted to Raw a few months after that in the 2016 WWE Draft with JoJo. And he says, and it was a very interesting interview too. That was the same interview where he had said, it's not about management, it should be about the wrestling, and wrestling is the language that I speak, and all this other stuff. And it really got people talking like that. He was legitimately frustrated. And he brings it up here too. He says, he wants to make the mic time count because he doesn't get a lot of mic time usually. So he was frustrated at the time, so he cut a promo about management. He gave a real answer. He only gives real answers, and that's exactly what that was. It was really fascinating to watch. There was no secret that the guy was frustrated with being on Raw because he really wanted to be on SmackDown. He made no bones about that. Anyway, so there's a picture of him on the independent scene, and he talks about having an affinity with suits and ties and having long hair at the time. He says it was an amazing time in his career. We go from that to a similar look when he had the Bond look in 2016. He wanted to do something different when he came back, so he did the whole Bond look, had the suit, the glasses, did the side entrance. No one else was really doing that at the time, I guess, so he wanted to be different in that respect by doing the side entrance. Our next shot is of him working with Sheamus in the summer of 2016 during the Best of 7 series those guys had, which would later lead to them teaming. And the picture was from SummerSlam, but he would go on to talk about, and it was of him drop-kicking Sheamus. He talks about how at SummerSlam, they had already wrestled twice, 2 weeks in a row on Raw. And people were complaining, we've already seen them work twice, now we got to see 7 more matches with these guys. But they always worked well together. Their matches were always entertaining, and they wanted to prove everyone wrong that their matches could be great, and they really wanted to stop people. They wanted to make people stop sleeping on their matches. So he said he was really, really, really proud of that Best of 7 series and that it brought them together as friends in the end, and now they're still tag team partners as of this recording. We get a shot of the bar fight these two had, Sheamus and Cesaro, later on in 2016 after they became a tag team, and that was really when they started to show signs of cohesion and getting on the same page. At the time, I thought it was goofy. I thought the acting was atrocious. But Cesaro says it was one of the coolest things he ever did on TV. He got to throw someone through a wall, and it sums up him and Sheamus in a nutshell. We get a shot of him with Sheamus backstage, with Sheamus wishing Cesaro a happy birthday at a live event backstage at some overseas tour, and Sheamus threw the cake on top of his head, and that was Sheamus and their friendship, their love-hate relationship, also in a nutshell. We get a shot of him laying down on the ladder, the aftermath of the Jeff Hardy WrestleMania ladder match spot, where he did the swanton about Sheamus and Cesaro, though Cesaro got the real brunt of it. He got the real brunt of the Swanton Bomb from Jeff. But he talks about the insane reaction that the Hardy Boys got when they returned in that match. It was cool to feel that energy. The Cesaro section, he said it was something organic with the fans handing out the signs. Sometimes it would be upwards of like 1,000 signs in the arena. And he appreciates the awesome appreciation they have for him. And the final picture is of him losing his tooth at No Mercy just a few months ago in 2017. As you guys probably know by now, he hit the post with both his teeth, or all of his teeth, I guess his mouth. When Ambrose did like the slingshot into the turnbuckle, he landed teeth first on the post, and the teeth went straight up into his gums, like 3 or 4 inches up into his gums, which is fucking beyond gross to even think about. They finished the match. Cesaro finished the match, despite being all battered up and messed up in the mouth. He had to get stitches in the mouth and on the lip. He had a lisp afterwards, apparently, which is why he got that Twith Thyborg shirt that came out on WWE Shop soon afterward. So we got a shirt out of it. A terrible shirt, but he got a shirt out of it, apparently. So there is the bright side of that instance. And that's it. That was Photo Shoot in a nutshell. That was Photo Shoot in a nutshell. And he was really happy to have experienced all the photos and relive all those moments in his entire career. So I enjoyed this. It was about 18 minutes long. The time flies by. We get a lot of pictures from the start of his career up until recently, and a lot of cool moments in the WWE career of Cesaro. So definitely check it out on the WWE Network. Like I said at the start of the show, the Miz one was also very, very good. Won't be reviewing it here on the channel just because I've already seen it, like before it even went up on the network. So I don't really want to rewatch it just to review it. But we do see some shots of Miz and his tag team days with John Morrison as United States Champion, WWE Champion, Intercontinental Champion, beating Christian for his first IC title, meeting his wife Maurice on, what was it called? That old show with the women, Diva Search, and how awful of a job he did when he first started acting as the host for that show. So anyway, definitely check that out along with this episode only on the WWE Network. So that being said, guys, I'll be back next week with another episode of WWE Network and Chill, on Sunday with my latest review of Total Divas, then on Monday with whatever airs on the network after Raw tonight. If there's nothing, I'll just watch something else or just put up my Total Divas review next week here for the latest episode of WWE Network and Chill. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week. In the meantime, and in between time, be sure to check me out on the Twitter machine, Facebook. All the links are down below in the description box. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Again, guys, have a great rest of your week. Like I said earlier, I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.